No, this is not clickbait, I'm not joking. AFK forms of training, for example splashing or sitting at bandits with guthans, used to be against the rules of the game, and in today's video we're going to explore just how that affected everyone playing it. So in today's times, you'll often see the phrase that if you bot, you'll get banned. It's something that I've said a lot in videos. Well, back in the day it used to be if you AFK, you get banned. People on forums literally said that. Before we get started, I'm going to explain a couple things about what the word AFK means. A lot of players tend to confuse AFK training with semi-AFK training. AFK stands for away from keyboard, meaning you are physically not at your keyboard playing the game, or if you are, you're tabbed out and not paying attention at all. Semi-AFK methods are things like cannoning, woodcutting, or ZMI runecrafting. These are all methods where you only have to click every once in a while, but in order to use them you do need to be at your computer or have some way to access it. Now that I've described these differences, we can continue. I'm sure all of you want me to get straight to the point. You might be thinking there's no way Jagex ever had a rule against AFK training because that's just dumb. Well, sorry to say they did. This is a direct excerpt from Jagex's rules of conduct. Number 6. What is AFK training? AFK training is away from keyboard training. While you are playing our games, you must be at the computer. Away from keyboard training is not allowed and you should log out when you leave the computer. To keep RuneScape enjoyable for everyone, please observe and follow our rules. We will not tolerate disruptive players, and if you break our rules, your account is likely to be banned or muted. So that means even if you just went downstairs to grab a sandwich, in theory, yes, Jagex could ban you if you chose not to log out and instead finish cooking that inventory of lobsters. This is because you're away from your computer and your character is still training. So why did Jagex have such seemingly harsh rules, and how exactly would they even enforce them? Well, the answer is for the normal player, they couldn't. Jagex has absolutely no idea if you went downstairs to grab some food, or if you're simply staring directly at your screen and let the game auto-log you out. What's the point in having a rule like this if it won't be enforced? Well, that's the thing. Jagex's intention wasn't to scare you into only playing RuneScape and making it so you couldn't play Halo on your Xbox and check back in every few minutes. It's because of a thing that people refer to today as splashing. Back in about 2011, splashing exploded in popularity and everybody had no clue what it was. They'd see some guy splashing on the same monster for 2 weeks and wonder how and for what reason. For those of you unaware of what splashing is, it's a method of magic training where you try to get your magic attack bonus as low as possible, so rather than hitting the monsters, you always hit zeros. In theory, you would be able to splash on low-level monsters like rats and never take any damage while also gaining magic XP. The same thing applies to a similar method players used when Old School first came out, where you would sit in Nightmare Zone with guthans on until the AFK timer logged you out. Since Nightmare Zone didn't exist back in 2011, people would just sit at bandits in the desert and do the same method. Jagex felt things like this gave players who played the game how they intended a disadvantage, and actually started banning players who did it. Keep in mind, no bans happened in Old School for using these AFK methods, although a lot of botters tried to claim splashing got them banned, when in reality that's not the case. A lot of you may be wondering, how exactly did this whole thing work? How were people able to splash for literally weeks and basically just go to sleep with their account still going without a bot? Currently, you can only splash for about 20 minutes before you get logged out. The thing is, it didn't always work like that. More or less, if you were in combat, as long as the monster could hit you, even if it was just zeros, your character wouldn't log out until the 6-hour automatic logout timer that still exists to this day. The way it works in Old School is actually pretty interesting. If you don't interact with your screen for 20 minutes, an invisible random event spawns and stops you from attacking. I don't know if that's how it still works today, but it was back when they first added it. So, more or less, to recap everything I just said, people would start splashing and just leave their computer because they could just sit there for literally 6 hours splashing and training their magic, or instead do something to train their melee, like sit at bandits with guthans on, and the bandits would keep attacking them as long as they had something like a Zamorak arrow or cape or something on them. Jagex obviously didn't like this and started banning people for it, whereas Old School took a different approach and just introduced the 20-minute invisible timer right away to stop people from using it. Luckily for all of us, today AFK training is now allowed. They just make it so you can't AFK for 6 hours. Anyway, that's all the information that's really out there for this subject. It's just another weird part of RuneScape history that I literally couldn't believe it until I looked into it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and leave your thoughts about all this below. I will see you in the next one.